Well, this is Mr. Jerry Carter. He has a nonprofit and runs a popular local sports blog. Sir, how are you?
Absolutely wonderful, and it's a privilege to be here with you too. I'm big fans of what it is that you're trying to do with your podcast.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. I think I can speak for both me and Ethan when I say it really is an honor to have you on this evening.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thank you. We're very excited. We talked a few months ago, back in August, and we discussed you coming on the show and getting a chance to talk to us, and it never really happened, but we finally are able to sit down and have a conversation.
Here we are. Well, we always like to start the same way. Where did you grow up?
Well, one of the things, and it's a term, it's used a lot, and people that can't relate to it don't get it. I am proud to say I'm a Navy brat. My dad was a military. I'm hardcore military believer. And it was a situation to where I ask people, I do a lot of public speaking, teaching. Say if you guys were in a room and I'm throwing out an icebreaker, somebody I said, here's my question for you. Where are you from? And that answer can be answered in one of three manners. One, where you're currently living. Two, where were you born? Three, where are you most proud of your connection? So if somebody says, hey, where were you born? I was born in Lemoore, California, which is in the middle of a wheat field in between San Francisco and LA. We moved when I was 3, so I don't have a lot of great ties to it. But I'll jokingly say, hey, people in California, they're my homies. But I've actually lived in 19 states.
Wow.
Been to all 50 of them at least 6 times, but lived in 19 of them. And it's a running joke for me. Someone goes, hey, who's your NFL team? I've actually lived in the home market of 21 of them.
Wow.
So you can't have a Super Bowl that I don't have a connection to. This year, who's playing? You got 49ers. I'm born just south of there, Kansas City. I spent a year there working for the Kansas City Star. It's a lot of. I have a lot of fun with it. I am hoping that I am where I'm going to be for the rest of my life. Came here by design. I'm not going to say I threw a dart at a dartboard, but it was an area. We were trying to pick an area. We picked Laurel Fork. I have a great deal of pride in being in Laurel Fork. But by Carroll County standards, I haven't been here very long. I'm only in my 4th year.
So you moved around a lot as a child.
We did. And it was, I think it helped me in that I went to 11 schools in my 12 years.
Wow.
We had a couple of things that just happened. You know, in the Navy, you typically, you're relocated every 2 or 3 years. We were in Albany, Georgia when the base closed, and they had to send everybody someplace. So they ended up sending my dad to Key West. And we were in a situation to where it wasn't really going to work for him to have us down there. So we went from Albany to Key West to my grandmother's house here in Virginia until they finally ended up stationing him back in Tidewater. So the 6th grade alone, I went to 4 schools.
Wow.
When you're always the new kid, you're always the one that talks a little bit different. The moves were not around the corner moves. We went from Rhode Island to Georgia.
Right.
We went from California to Virginia. I think it helped me create my people skills. You had to have them to survive, because if not, you were just going to stick out an awful lot. And my fallback is humor. I just learned how to be funny really, really early. And it's a running joke. I said, some people think they're funny. I said, I know I'm funny. So, but that's you'll find out any question that you have. You're never going to get a 3-word answer from me.
Right.
So
that's fine with that.
Yeah.
Makes our job easy.
So your father, did he have tours of duty where he was at sea, or was he?
Yes, they went back and forth between sea duty and shore duty. I didn't get to spend a lot of time around my father. Because there was a time where if you're on sea duty, you're gonna spend at least a 6-month, if not a 9-month cruise. So there were 5 of us. I was the youngest of the 5, and so Mom spent a lot of time trying to raise 5 kids.
So your dad was on a surface ship?
Yes. And then we would switch up, and then he would be on what's called shore duty. He was online to hit the 30-year mark.
Wow.
And they were getting ready to send him back out to sea. And he he didn't want to go. He didn't want to put my mom through that. So he actually ended up retiring at 29 years. And this is one anecdote I'll give you that to put it in perspective for my dad. My dad went in E1, which is the lowest rank you can go into. He went all the way to the top of that side of the chart, which is a CWO4. It's a Chief Warrant Officer 4, highest you can get. When it was time for him to retire, they offered him to slide over to the other side, and he would have retired as a lieutenant junior grade. And wow, my older brothers were psyched about that. That's a title. You're going to know that. Someone goes, "What's a CWO4?" It's a situation to where my dad turned it down, and it was a very easy answer for him. He goes, "I can't feed my kids on a title." While the title would have been more prestigious, it's a situation it actually would have been less pay. And that's how my dad was. I tell people he was the most practical man that ever walked the face of the earth. So, but it was a situation to where some of the places we were stationed were awesome. We were in Hawaii, we were in California, Quonset Point, Rhode Island was kind of cool. If somebody asked me where did I grow up, we had 2 cents in Tidewater in the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area. Then there were other places. Albany, Georgia is one that it wasn't that it was a bad place, but it's not going to ring a bell for most people. You can't really relate to it. Key West was kind of cool. I don't know that I wanted to be down there long term, but we learned to adjust. It wasn't like it was a family conversation. Dad comes home, he goes, "Hey, it's time to go," and we learned how to go. It spilled over from there. I mentioned before we went on the air, a little bit of a learning disability, and I hide it really well. And I was given a seminar one day, and I'm really good when I'm talking to groups, and this one was on time management and people management. And after the seminar was over, one of the ladies in attendance came up to me and she said, "Mr. Carter, how many degrees do you have?" And I said, "Actually, I don't have any." And she said, "Well, how did you get so smart?" And I told her, I said, this is my tagline, if you will, "I only know what I know, but I know what I know." When you can't process everything, you jump on the things that you understand and you run with it. And I learned a certain skill that's most applicable to the newspaper business. And there was opportunities where people would need something that I don't mind saying there aren't 10 people in the country that can do what I can do at my job. So you move around. Now, my kids were not as much of a fan of moving around as I was of my dad moving us around. They're all 5 of them are grown now. The youngest one's 32. They're not as fond of the moving around, but you when you're trying to, at first, you're trying to feed your kids. You chase the best opportunity that you can. And the last stop before we came here was actually on an island in the Pacific Northwest. It's an island you can only reach by ferry boat or airplane.
Is it the corner island? Is it in Washington State?
It's in Washington State,
Okay.
and it's a large set of islands called the San Juan Islands.
Okay.
And growing up, again, not being real bright, San Juan Islands, I'm thinking Puerto Rico. Now, obviously, a lot of people think that. It's the San Juan Islands, and the one that we lived on was Orcas Island. And it was our property was the corner piece to it. So if somebody came to the island by the ferry boat, the first place that they saw was our place. Front of it faced the U.S., the back of it faced Canada. And contrary to popular belief, it doesn't snow there. Most people hear Canada, they're thinking buffalo kind of snow. But we spent 7 years there. That was a pretty big one. You know, you just sitting there when you think about where we came from. And I don't mind telling people where we came from. We were pawning stuff at the pawn shop to feed our kids when this thing started. We weren't given anything. We didn't inherit anything. So we kind of when it came time, we got to Orcas. We were having a pretty good time with it, and I asked myself, I said, is there anything else left that I want to try to accomplish? We've had some adventures along the way, from owning a baseball team to owning a restaurant to doing the nonprofit stuff that we're doing. And I asked myself, I said, do I have one more challenge in me?
Yeah.
And that's how, if you fast forward from there, that's how I ended up in Laurel Fork.
Yeah. I have a question I wanted to ask earlier. Do you know what your father's rate was in the Navy?
Actually, the only thing that I was, I know what he did.
Yeah, sure.
Which was he worked on airplanes,
Okay.
the wiring for the airplanes.
Okay.
I actually tried to follow in his footsteps,
Oh.
and I got into. I enlisted and I went out to San Diego, and it was when I got out there that the doctor realized that part of my leg is missing. That goes back to the pretty bad accident I was involved in as a 14-year-old. Because I love the military. I wanted to be an air traffic controller.
Right.
And I couldn't afford to go to air traffic controller school, so
Military.
you joined the military.
Yeah.
We get out there and the doctor just loses his mind. He goes, "How did you get this far? How did you get past the amount of people that you had to have looked at you?"
Right.
I said, I don't have an answer for that. And when he retired, he jumped right into the going to work for McDonnell Douglas. And then, of course, Boeing chews up McDonnell Douglas. So he actually retired from Boeing.
We've actually been able to interview a submariner, Mike Scott. He's down in North Carolina.
Okay.
And he was very interested in talking about it. I was going to ask you earlier, where did you graduate from high school from?
The actual school that I finished at was called Francis Howell High School, and it was in St. Charles County in Missouri.
Okay.
And it was so funny. We went there. We went there from Norfolk. So the day that they were putting me in school, the lady at the school goes, "Mrs. Carter, I need to let you know that our school is a mixed school.
Oh.
Is your son going to be okay being in a mixed school? You can't make this stuff up." I'm sitting there listening. I'm going, I can't wait to hear what this is. And my mom goes, "What's a mixed school out here?" She goes, "Well, we have 2,100 students, and 13 of them aren't white." And I'm sitting there. I had grown up in Norfolk, where it was the complete opposite of that.
Right, yeah.
So again, but the thing about the school that was so unique, it was an old military base.
Oh, wow.
It was something right out of Hogan's Heroes.
Yeah.
There was even a guard shack on the campus. But yeah, when Dad retired and went to work for McDonnell Douglas, he took us to St. Louis, and so I actually graduated from high school about 35 miles outside of St. Louis.
Okay. And did you want to go into the military right out of high school, or did you have any other plans?
No, it was funny. I guess we got to go back in the story just for a little bit to get that one answered correctly. I was a basketball player, and I don't mind saying I was a pretty decent basketball player.
Yeah.
And we're in the 8th grade. I had just finished playing a game where I had scored 42 points. I could shoot. I think 10 years ago, I'd say a dream thing would be to play horse with J.J. Redick. Yeah. I guess now you have to say it'd be to play horse with Steph Curry.
Yeah.
So you have to use your age bracket. But I was coming home from that game, and I was hit by a drunk driver. I was on my skateboard. I was hit by a drunk driver, and he ended up basically cutting me in half from where my leg was concerned. It was a situation to where they didn't know what to do with me because of my age. It was 3 days in the hospital when they realized I couldn't lift up off the bed. And they were like, "Well, what's wrong with his back? Why can't he lift up?" And what it was that so much of the inside of my leg was stuck to my back that I was stuck to the bed. So it took a year to learn how to walk again. part of my leg just isn't there. It just doesn't exist. Anybody that's seen me walk around here, they think it's that my knees are shot. I don't have part of my leg, and there was nothing they could do about it. And thankfully, you would only see it if I was coming out of the shower.
Yeah.
So all I wanted to do was play basketball. Yeah. And all of a sudden, that was gone. So it was a situation to where I said, okay, I don't want to lose my connection to the game. I still want it to be part of my life. Yeah. So I learned how to scout. I learned how to do whatever it was. This is while I was still in school. I learned how to do whatever it was to stay involved with the basketball program. And what ended up happening was, I was pretty proud of this. At age 15, I was writing for the 7th largest newspaper in the country. And because I understood the game at a pretty solid level, and I had a little bit of writing skill. And one day, my editor came in, and he says, I need you to work on something. And I said, what's that? He goes, I need you to learn how to write mean. And I just said, why? And he goes, because this I had covered a basketball game that night. Mm-hmm. And the kids, they were my age. I was a kid at the time. Yeah. I'm like, this isn't the NBA. These aren't people making $7 million a year. Why do I have to write mean? Why do I have to point at somebody and say, this one lost the game? Yeah. And he goes, because that's the nature of our business. He goes, if you're not willing to do that, you're never going to be taken serious in this business. And I said, I guess I'm never going to be taken serious in this business. So I ended up switching over to a weekly paper where I could write the style that I wanted. Mm-hmm. And I told myself that I would never, it didn't matter what happened in front of me, I would never go down that path. It's just not who I am. Yeah. So where the military came in, yep. Got married early, had a child, you can't feed a family working for a weekly newspaper. I couldn't afford to stop and go to journalism school. Mm-hmm. So what I ended up doing was joining the military. Mm-hmm. And again, that was a unique situation to where when that avenue closed, it's like, okay, well, where do we go from here? Because now that leads into a whole nother story. Yeah. I get discharged. Yeah. And people see me around town. They know that I'm a Duke fan mm-hmm. from 50 years ago. I am a Duke fan because when you're living in rural Virginia and one of your relatives is dying, where do they get taken to?
Duke, yeah.
To Duke.
Yeah.
And so I don't have a tolerance for people that, I like Duke because they play basketball well. So people see the Duke stuff and they're like, yeah, most people, if you like a team, well, you're supposed to hate the other team. Mm. Don't buy into that either. Yeah. So I was telling the story. I get out of San Diego. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know what I'm going to do. I end up moving in to a dorm at the University of North Carolina with a good friend of mine. And right down the hall from the dorm was these two kids named Michael Jordan and Sam Perkins. Mm. Actually, I was telling the story. So I'm, people are like, he likes Duke. He must hate Carolina. That wasn't anything I did. That was God creating a situation. I didn't want to be homeless. I ended up in a situation where they were sharing the elevator with these guys. And so then it became, okay, there's not an avenue there. I'm not the brightest kid that's out there. I need to learn how to do something. Yeah. That's when I realized, I said, I better figure out what that is. Right. And it's really hard to describe how I've made a living, and there's no glory in it. There's no glamour in it. Mm-hmm. It just like a chess player who has the ability to see a board and see 8 steps down. That's what I do. I have a skill set where I can look at something and say, hey, if we go down this path, that's going to trigger this, which will lead to this, and it'll come back to that. One of the things you run into when you know something to that degree, mm-hmm. you wear people out. Mm-hmm. Why do you work for 22 newspapers? Because once you fix what's wrong, they're tired of you being that right. So you sit there and you're like, okay, we'll go down to the next to the next place, and we'll try to do it again. So I'll let you guys figure out what your next question is, and I'll happily answer it.
Yeah, so you have your nonprofit, OneOfUs.Care, and am I saying it correctly?
OneOfUs.Care.
.care. So
Okay.
it's .care. Okay, I apologize. How did that start?
Okay, I appreciate that question. Roughly 20 years ago, we started doing things to give back.
You and your wife.
My wife and I, yes.
Yeah.
We didn't have a name for it. We did stuff when we could.
Yeah.
There's a summer league baseball team that exists because I put it there. Mm-hmm. There's an outfield, a stadium that's fenced in because we were able to put it there. I'd written a couple of books about different things that had happened at different schools, and in each situation, we gave this stuff away. We didn't. My job pays me. I don't take money for anything else. Mm-hmm. So, a few years back, going back to the island, there was a situation that came up, and I had a chance to be a part of. The newspaper industry is constantly changing. It's going the way of the dodo. Yeah. It doesn't matter how big the paper is. So I like name dropping. I have a lot of fun with it. The guy, technically I work for Jeff Bezos, but not really. I mean, he signs. I don't know who signs my actual check because it's direct deposit. But there's a unique situation that the Washington Post was dealing with, and I have a very unique skill set. And I'm talking to the folks there, and I have to clarify, because this is a legal thing. Mm-hmm. I am not an employee of the Washington Post.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm an independent contractor.
Yeah. Contributing writer? Is that the...
I'm sorry?
Contributing writer? Is that...
I don't do any writing for them.
Oh, okay.
I don't do any writing for them. I use the noggin for them.
Okay.
So we're having the conversation, and I'm intrigued because I'm going to get to be part of the conversation that's going to recreate what circulation is. And I'm telling the guy the day, I said, I'm going to do this for the thrill. Mm-hmm. I don't want your money. And he goes, well, Jerry, you have to take the money. And I said, okay, if you give me the money, I'm going to give every nickel of it away. You hear people say, hey, I want to give away 10%. I said, if you give me this job, okay, this contract, the thing is, it's an open-ended contract. So it's not as if it's guaranteed that it's going to go on forever.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So I said, okay, here's my shot. Here's my shot to create an umbrella for the things that we've been doing. And that umbrella is OneOfUs.Care. The name is very important to me because I don't know if either one of you are fans of Aaron Sorkin. Okay. Give you an example of Aaron Sorkin. He's my hero. He's him and Tim Tebow. I try to mimic Tebow in what he does. I clearly don't have his fan base personality or his resources, but I model after what it is we're trying to do. Aaron Sorkin was at Syracuse University tending bar, and he started writing a play on a napkin. And the very first thing he wrote was A Few Good Men. Are you either one of you old enough to remember that one? Mm-mm. Okay, you need to watch that sometime. It's Tom Cruise, Demi Moore, Jack Nicholson. It's in my era. It was a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Is that the you can't handle the truth?
Yeah, you
yes,
can.
Okay,
yeah.
That, yeah.
So Sorkin, every word he's ever written, I have it. Everything that he's ever done, I've watched it till I can recite it to you. So in my blog, I'm constantly tapping into Aaron Sorkin. Mm-hmm. So where does One of Us come from? Yeah. Okay, One of Us, actually, I borrowed that line from a Sorkin episode on The West Wing. That was also his show. Okay. And what the term means is when you find somebody who you think feels strongly and believes in the same things that you do. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's just another way of saying that's a good guy. Yeah. That's a good guy. Yeah. So that's where the One of Us comes from. Care is what it's all about. Yeah. One of my greatest achievements in the newspaper business, I took over a depot out in Seattle, Washington for the New York Times. I inherited a staff of 3. They knew every route in the building. They had all the answers, but they had terrible mindsets, terrible attitudes. So I come in and I let them all go. The woman who I answer to goes, "Have you lost your mind?" And I said, "They're not going to fit into what I believe in." She goes, "Well, they know every route in the building." I said, "It's okay. I could teach a monkey how to deliver newspapers. I can't teach somebody how to care." Think about it. Think about it just for a second. People care or they don't.
Yeah.
It's in your DNA. It's in your so that the name of it is OneOfUs.Care.
Yeah.
We're constantly searching for other people that believe in the same thing that we believe in. Yeah. So all we did was take 20 years of what we were doing and put it under an umbrella.
Right. Yeah.
3 very basic things. It's just 3 things. Very simple. Remember, I'm a simple person. Number 1, can we all just be a little bit nicer to each other?
Yes.
It's free. Doesn't cost anything. That's easy. Number 2, if you have a skill set, you should lend it out every time you can if it makes somebody else's life better. Okay? Again, it's pretty straightforward. In all of this, we have never asked anybody for $1 towards what it is we believe in. We don't. In fact, my wife and I just finished investing $50,000 in various things in Carroll County. So, and without asking anybody, "Hey, will you help us with this? Will you help us with that?" The third one is learn how to barter so that you can create things that don't already exist. And I'm going to give you a great example of that up at Page County High School, up in the Shenandoah Valley. One of my best friends is a softball coach there. He's been a softball coach for 44 years now. We built his facility a piece at a time, and he's got a small college facility there, but his batting cages weren't covered, similar to what we have here in Carroll County. And I went to Alan and said, let me test this on a bigger scale. And I said, I think if I get the right people to listen to me, they can believe in what I'm saying, and we can do this. First of all, I got to give credit to the athletic director, Bill Simmons, because he took a big gamble. He let us start building something, and I had no history with Bill Simmons. So we went out, and there's now a structure there that would have cost the school $60,000.
Wow.
And we put it there for lunch money.
Yeah.
And I like naming things. Anything, if you read my writing, I don't call it Hillsville. I call it the Hill. I'm trying to make it light. I'm trying to keep things funny.
Yeah.
And so I said, I want to raise a barn. If you look back at the history of back in the Old West, somebody's barn burned down. What happened? All the neighbors came out and they just built the barn.
Yeah.
We built that in basically 2 weekends. Wow. It's the crown jewel of what it is I do. And this is the society that we live in today. I envisioned there being 50 people with notepads saying, "Please tell me how did you do this? Please tell me how I can have this for my community." Yeah. I pictured the press conference in my head, and put me in front of a mic, and I'm pretty comfortable there. Yeah. We didn't get any of that. Here's what we got. Why them? Where's mine? Yeah. It's the world we live in. Yep. It is. So now once we set it up, the mindset was, I want to build things. Now we've done some big ticket items here. But none of them have been building something, okay? Because how this is supposed to work, let's just say that you're a contractor.
Sure, yeah.
Let's say that you're an electrician, okay? That's what we did up there, okay? And that's why I am constantly lending my talents out. Well, what is it that I do? I write and I speak. Yeah. I promote. I live in a world where everything I do is 100% positive. I just cannot... it's borderline delusional. I truly am. If either one of you are familiar with Don Quixote at all, yeah. I'm truly trying to make the world a better place. I can't watch live TV. I can't read the newspaper. I stayed off of social media until 10 days ago, only because I'm writing stuff that's really worth reading for people in this community. And I went around for 3.5 years trying to get people to read it one person at a time. And it just wasn't working. Yeah. So to live in a world where today, for example, I took the time to make 6 people smile. It's okay to be kind to each other. It's okay to look at somebody and say, I love you, brother. No, but we want to do what? We want to run at people. We want to run people down. We want to take shots at people. So it's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle. But I'm going to go down swinging. I'm going to stick with what I believe in. It's kind of funny. You guys, I believe, compete for Mr. Sean Montgomery.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a huge fan of Mr. Montgomery. Even though we're never going to go bowling together, we're not going to become socially running buddies. But he gets what it is that I'm after.
Yeah.
I don't want to know who won the race. Okay, I want to know everybody that ran the race. Yeah. Okay, great example on the last cross country thing. Yeah. Okay, so I wake up. It was bitter cold that day. It was bitter cold. Yes. My wife goes. My wife's looking at me. And she goes, "Isn't Montgomery the one that's going to send you this stuff anyway?" She goes, "Why in the world are you going to drive to Bristol and stand in the freezing cold?" I said, "Because he's going to send me this stuff anyway." You have to show appreciation for the people that understand. Yeah. I'm getting just blown away right now by Shannon Dalton. Yeah. And what an amazing lady. And
absolutely,
it's something to where this is how neat she is when she gets what I'm trying to do with the site. Okay. Yeah. She gets what I'm trying to do with the site. She took the time to mimic my writing style. Her first thought was, I'm not a sports writer. And I said, but no one's asking you to be a sports writer. We've only been in the same space 4 times. Right. But we try to do things to show people we care. The other day, I covered the first part of the of the one academic meet, and then after that, I came down and we did a send off at the school. Yeah. What does it cost? Nothing. Last night it was another great example. Turn me loose with a mic, and I'm going to run with it. I'm sitting there in between the JV and the varsity game. There's always these 3 dead minutes where the cheerleaders have been and the dance team's been. Now for 3 minutes we're just looking around. So I'm a big fan of Isaiah Easter. He's a neat young man. Yeah. He had the game the night before. He had scored 20 points while only playing half the game. Wow. So I said, I got a microphone and I've got 3 dead minutes. And I bring Isaiah over and I actually conduct an interview with Isaiah over the sound system. Mm-hmm. Yep. And now you do that for a number of reasons. One, I get to promote Anthony Barnes's basketball team, which is 17-1 right now. Yeah, I get to promote Isaiah Easter, and also it gives me an opportunity for what I came here to do. Okay, I didn't get a chance to get an education. When I went, I can't make this one up either. When I went to Duke with my transcripts, the woman goes, "Can I be honest with you?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "Looking at this, I'm not sure you could spell Duke." I wasn't trying. I wasn't trying to skate by. I wasn't trying to not learn. Right. There was nobody that ever paid any attention to me. Yes, we won it. We won in the long run, but it was I asked myself, what would have been different? So that brings us to the subject of what did I come here to do? Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. I can't teach because I don't have a degree, but I had a 15-step plan to make Carroll County something that everybody else in the state would be going, what are they doing down there? Yeah. It involved teaching elective classes. Okay, you guys familiar with Marty Smith? Mm-mm. Okay, Marty Smith is an ESPN personality. I believe he He's local. I believe it was Giles he came from.
Okay.
He got stuck when he first started. He was just doing NASCAR. Now he is the best storyteller on the network. Okay. He's a local boy.
Yeah.
His style, in my mind, if you have a story and you're a storyteller, you know what you don't have to do? Scream. You don't have to scream.
Yeah.
You can just tell a story. Marty Smith. I'm trying to find the next Marty Smith. So you go in there. You set up classes for photography. You set up classes for sports writing, sports media, sports personalities. Okay. You find your next editor. You find your next. Tonight, here's a great example. If my system had ever gotten where it was going to go.
Yeah.
I'm here tonight with you guys. And which means I'm not over in Stewart for the Patrick County games.
Yeah.
In the system I was trying to build, there would be people covering that game.
Right.
Okay. To where that, and we would be teaching them. We would be teaching them how to do that. Yeah. Using the example of Isaiah Easter, what we want to be able to do, I'm going to credit this quote to Wes Long, our new wrestling coach.
Okay, yeah.
Wes says, do you realize that 80% of the people, okay, that graduate from here are going to be here for the rest of their life? Yeah. Yeah. I looked at Wes and I just said 75, but amen.
Yeah.
Why can't we be proud of who we are? Why can't we be proud of what we represent? Yeah. I got to sneak this one in there because my one pet peeve is I love the energy in the student section for the basketball games. Yeah. Okay. Why do we have to taunt?
Yeah.
I actually took it a step further. I went over to the other night, I think it was in Galax, and I said, who's the ringleader? Who's the ringleader? And somebody says, it's me. I said, here's my deal. Try it for one night. Make all the noise you can make. Scream up and down, jump up and down, but make sure it's positive. I said, and I'll throw a pizza party for the entire student section. I said, just try it one time. And it's like, so the next day I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen, but I have to stand for what I believe in. Yeah. I've been around sports my whole life. Here's a sentence I've never said in my life. My team beat your team. What are we doing? Yeah. Let's just be proud. And then if one of our teams loses, it's like, well, who cares? They lost. I asked somebody the question the other day, JV team lost the game. And, the joke was, well, and I said, well, we're still going to feed them when we get home, right? Yeah. They're still our kids, right? Yeah. So you go through it. But I wanted to have an opportunity to, if you're trying to get people to learn how to interview somebody, okay, that also gives your student athletes a chance to do what?
Be interviewed.
Yeah. Be interviewed. Okay. To learn how to speak publicly. Right. One of the things we're doing now is we're doing little player profiles. Okay, I don't do anything just to do it. There's a reason behind everything that I do. Player profile, here's what we do. Let's just pretend we're doing a player profile on you. Yeah. Okay, we're going to ask you, who's your mom and dad? Because that's important. We're going to ask you where you consider home, what grade you're in, okay? And then what's your favorite part of being a member of your team? Yeah. And then we're going to say, if you could go to any school and compete, what school would it be? Yeah. All pretty simple questions, right? Nothing tricky. Yeah. Then I'm going to ask you to give me a complete sentence on what your favorite part about being on this team is. Okay? Trying to exercise the brain. Right. Okay? In a positive manner. Yeah. Then I'm going to ask you, and this is actually happening with the boys basketball team right now. Yeah. Then I'm going to ask you, go get 3 of your teammates that like you. Yeah. Okay? You get to pick the 3, bring them back here, and I'm going to ask them in a complete sentence to say something positive about you. Okay? So people love reading them, and then the profile person gets to feel important for a day. Yeah. Look at what I accomplished.
Win.
Absolutely.
So you're sitting here. So we had one happen the other day. Somebody, I welcome questions. I want somebody to ask me questions because it gives me a chance to speak about what I'm passionate about. So somebody asked me a question, I answered it. Somebody mistakenly thought I was offended by something. I don't have time to be offended by something. I'm on a mission. Yeah. One of my favorite sayings, that we lived out in Washington State twice for a total of 20 years. There was a saying that if Bill Gates dropped a $500 bill. If he stopped to pick it up, he would lose money. I want you to think about that for a second. Okay? That's how I look at life.
Yeah.
If I leave here today and you guys go your separate ways and say, "Oh my God, what a doofus," I'm not gonna hold it against you, because if you stop what you believe in and you stop what you're doing because somebody doesn't like you, dude, you're not gonna get there.
Yeah.
You're just not gonna get there. It's funny because I spent a couple of years trying to find out who the person behind the curtain was and trying to say who I want to do all these things. I want to do coaches shows. Yeah. I want to have a breakfast once a month where the coaches that are in season, we invite the town to come to it and they can each talk about their programs. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to do coaches shows. You want to be able to do stuff on the radio. Mm-hmm. You want to teach our youth somebody, and if you pull 2 or 3 people out, okay, I never got pulled out. You can absolutely get through high school without accomplishing anything. Yeah. And I it happened to me. It wasn't, after the accident, you get pitied for the year. So they're gonna, you're in a wheelchair and you're in crutches. No one's gonna pick on that kid. And then you, for the next year, you're just sitting there. There's a lot of people at Carroll County High School who are just going through the motions.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I think some of the people in said student section are kind of clever. Mm-hmm. Okay. Could we get any of them to sit and work on that? Jeff Berner up at, it used to be Stonewall Jackson, now it's Mountain View. Yeah. Mm-hmm. His school asked him to create some new curriculum. Mm-hmm. Jeff Berner and I go way back. His nickname is the mayor of Quicksburg. Quicksburg's a little village there. Mm-hmm. He knows, he supports his kids year round. Right. He's at their weddings after they graduate. The he's the real deal. Yeah. They asked Jeff, they said, create some new curriculum. He wrote the curriculum for exactly what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And he's teaching it. I've actually got a chance to sit with him and help him teach some of it. So again, I'm not speaking Martian. I'm sitting here, and where the site came in, the site was designed to be a tool. Mm-hmm. You know who's not qualified to run the site? See me holding my hand up. I'm a lot of things. I'm not an editor. I'm not a photographer. Okay. I'm trying to use what I have. So the site was designed to be a mechanism to teach people. To go up and let's say we run into you and we say, hey, is there anything you're interested in doing? And here's 10 choices. Mm-hmm. And you go through it from there. The site is sitting on top of, we've been doing stuff like this for 20 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you go back and look at my older stuff, it's all feel good. It's all positive stuff. Mm-hmm. I just am trying to get people to want to be involved. Mm-hmm. Come springtime, do you guys compete on the spring track?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Again, your coach is going to make sure I have everything that I need. Yeah. Okay. Now, let's pretend for a second you had an interest in writing. Mm-hmm. And you know that Sean, Coach Montgomery, is going to send me the results. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you're trying to learn how to be a writer, you could add what? A personal touch to it. Yeah. Okay. Again, the stuff just snowballs. Mm-hmm. We're sitting there yesterday at 9:00 in the morning. Okay. Darren texted me. Mr. Matthews texted me and says, "Can you announce tonight?" Mm-hmm. The second that he asked me that question, I start, how much good can I do today? Yeah. How many people can I make smile? Can I make a difference? Mm-hmm. The JV programs here get treated as if they're irrelevant. Mm-hmm. So when I introduced the young ladies for the JV team, I actually asked, as I announced them, for the parents to stand up and to stay standing until I was done with that. Yeah. What did that cost? Nada. No. Coach Nestor, he's the guy I actually do things with, is softball. Yeah. I tell Coach, I said, Coach, the most valuable thing you have, okay, in your ability to market a feel-good situation is your ceremonial first pitch. Mm. Again, you own it. Cost you nothing. He had 8 seniors last year. What did we end up doing? We had a senior night for each one of them, where their family got to come out, throw a ceremonial first pitch, and the child got to catch the ball. At the end of it, when it was time to go, we had 2 qualify for the state track meet. Okay. Corey Delp and Elijah Smith. So I immediately run to Coach and I said, Coach, this is a golden opportunity. And we can crossover promote here. I go, let's get those 2 out here side by side and let them throw out the first pitch. Now the photo of that's hanging on my wall, and I was able to give a copy to the Delps and to the Smiths. Just the 2 of them standing side by side is kind of funny. I had never met Elijah Smith, and he's built.
I went to daycare with him. He's an awesome dude.
So you're sitting there, and again, it's like getting somebody to listen. The dollar bills are running through their head. Well, I'm telling you things that cost what? Nothing.
Or
nothing. Yeah. So Cindy Edwards, our volleyball coach, says, hey, I heard some of the stuff you did across the street. Can you do it for my team? And I said, okay. I said, Coach, you know what? The most valuable asset you have? Your baseline and introductions. I said, turn that over to me, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Opening night, Mother's Night. Okay, the mothers are all lined up with the daughters. So what's next? What's the next one? That's that home match. That's Father's Night. We're going to throw in Grandparents' Night. Then we went to Besties' Night, and then we went to somebody who has helped you at the school that you consider an inspiration night. Again, what did any of that cost? Nothing. Okay, it's all different though. It's all different. And as you're trying to go through this, so it's from the second that Mr. Matthews asked me to do it, I just made a list. I said, I'm going to do this, and this. Now, the Isaiah Easter one was not on the list. Okay? That just happened.
Impromptu.
And it was funny, was I tripped him up on one question. There's certain athletes that you meet that they're just easy to pull for. One of them on the basketball team is Cody Reese. Okay, I don't know if either one of you know him or not. So yesterday, I pull Isaiah over there, and he had a phenomenal game, and he scored 20 points, and he only played half the game, and he missed 1 shot. So I've given him some softball questions, and I'm on the microphone, and I said, well, now I'm going to channel my inner Cody Reese and ask you this next one. What happened on the shot you missed? Isaiah had no answer for that. But the look on Cody's face from across the gym, you're just sitting there. The stuff that I write. Sometimes I'm writing until 4 or 5 in the morning.
And you published for
the way I took the time.
5:47.
You're sitting there, but as you go through it, if you going back to Don Quixote, if you believe that you can make a difference, okay. You owe it to yourself to give it everything you got. And that's kind of the mission. I don't know how long I'll have the contract with the Post. I am not making the progress that I would hope to make, but something's happened now where people are at least reading the material. Because for a year, that wasn't happening. I'd be constantly. Here's a perfect scenario. Now, I don't know. You guys can tell me if Coach Montgomery does this. Beginning of a season, Coach needs to say, "This is what's happening. This is where you find it," because he's doing it for you.
He did send us it.
Okay, there you go. I go. That's how it works. Because if not, then what are we doing it for? You're writing a story and one of the things I don't mind sharing this. I don't think Coach would mind. I'm watching you guys at your meet, and I see the tents. I see the tents, and I said, Coach, I go, we need a tent. And he goes, well, I think I got a parent who might be interested in helping us with a tent. And I said, well, here's what I'm going to do. I said, I'm going to buy you a tent, and then if somebody else wants to buy it, then use this money to help your program somewhere else. It's tough when you go to one of those meets, and there's the tent that says Galax. There's the tent that says Radford. There's the day it stuck out to me was the meet you guys competed at last year in Radford. That was just brutal. It was cold. It was raining. The the porta potties, you know,
Yeah.
I go, and all these teams are under their tent, and our kids are where?
In the rain.
They're scrambling. Can I hang out with you? So, but again, it's something that it's not a quick thing. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
But the two of you are a walking example
Yeah.
of what it is we're trying to chase.
Mm-hmm.
How many other people can have a skill, and say, hey, let me try to apply this. Let me chase this.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you guys want me to sit down with you,
Yeah.
you just ask, and I'll be happy to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is 6:46. I know you mentioned you had somewhere to be at 7.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I appreciate you letting me sneak this one in.
Yeah.
One thing you don't do when you make a friend, friend's a sacred word for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if you make a friend, you don't trade them in because they get old or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have been partnered in you see the logo on the shirt, the West Virginia Tech baseball
Right.
team. It's coached by Lawrence, big pitcher Nessa wrote, and that's a story in itself.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually driving down I-77 right now, and he's pulling off at Hillsville as we speak,
Mm-hmm.
and we're actually going to, we have some fun with it. They're the Golden Bears.
Mm-hmm.
So we're actually going to do what? It writes itself. We're going to feed the bears.
Ah.
The headline will say, sorry, Ranger Smith, we
We fed the bears.
fed the bears. And, and the stuff's already paid for. So Lawrence knows that if I'm slow getting over there, that the kids can start eating.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something to where if you ever want to learn the difference financially of an NAIA school budget,
Yeah.
he's not coaching at Alabama. Okay, I can promise you that. So, but I appreciate you letting me sneak that in. I'll be leaving here, heading over to the Pizza Inn to hang out with those guys.
Yeah.
They have an opening day doubleheader tomorrow, opening, and then on Saturday as well.
Mm-hmm.
We do everything we can to help those guys.
Well, yes, sir. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you,
on.
sir.
And
Hey,
giving us
thank
your
you.
time.
And if you ever want to have another round of it, I just look me up and let me know.
Absolutely.
awesome.
We'd love to.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.